Hello everyone, my name is Deepika Verma, Senior Research Fellow of Batch 2019 under supervision of Professor Rajiv Kumar Sir, Sociology Department. In this lecture, I would like to give information about theories of social movements. This lecture will be in two parts. So in first part, we will see the meaning of social movements, its characteristics, and what are the stages of development of social movement. So let's begin. Social movement is one of the major form of collective behavior. There are movements to save environment, to save wildlife, to save world. There are movements to demand more reservation. There are movements like tribal movements, women movements, youth movements, but human right movements. But a question comes in mind that what are these social movements? What is the meaning of this social movement? So according to one of the sociologists, Neil J. Smeltzer, social movement can be defined as organized group effort to generate or resist social change. So it is very clear from the definition that the basic nature of social movement is to generate or resist a social change, and it is a group effort. Other thinker says that a social movement is a collective effort to promote or resist change. According to Turner and Killen, social movement is defined as a collectivity acting with some continuity to promote or resist change in the society or group of which it is a part. So in all this definition you can clearly see that one thing is common, that to generate or resist social change, and it is a collective effort. So I think the very basic meaning of social movement is clear from this definition. Let's see what are the characteristics of social movements. Uh, M.S.A. Rao is one of the prominent Indian sociologists that has made mention a nature of social movements in the book Social Movements in India. According to him, social movement include two characteristics about which there is a considerable agreement among the sociologists. These are first is collective action and second is oriented towards social change. These are the two basic characteristics given by M.S.A. Rao. He says that social movement undoubtedly involves collective action. However, this collective action takes the form of a movement only when it is sustained for a long time. This collective action need not to be formally organized. It could be an informal attempt also, but it should be able to create an interest and awakening in relatively large number of people. Next is oriented towards social change, which means that a social movement is generally oriented towards bringing about social change. This change could either be partial or total. Though the movement is aimed at bringing about a change in the values, norms, ideologies of the existing system, efforts are also made by some other forces to resist the change and to maintain the status quo. The counter attempts are normally defensive and restorative rather than innovative and initiating change. They are normally the organized efforts of an already established order to maintain itself. In this way, it is very clear about these basic characteristics of social movements. Let's see some other characteristics, which are there is an ideology behind the movement, which means that an important component of social movement is that uh, distinguished it from general category of collective mobilization is the presence of an ideology. Let's understand this by an example. Let's say that a student strike involves collective mobilization and is oriented towards change, but in the absence of an ideology, a student strike becomes an isolated event and not a movement. On the contrary, if the strike is committed to an ideology, It may last for longer period and assume the form of a movement. Next is organizational framework, uh, it says that social movement require a minimum of an organizational framework to achieve success, or at least to maintain the tempo of the movement, to maintain the distinction clear between the leaders and the followers, to make the clear purposes of the movement, to persuade people to take part in it, or to support it, to adopt different techniques to achieve the goals. A social movement must have some amount of organizational framework. Next is the technique and the results. It means that a social movement may adopt its own technique or method to achieve its goal. There is no certainty regarding it. It may follow peaceful or conflicting, violent or non-violent, compulsive or persuasive, democratic or undemocratic means or methods to reach its goal. The same thing is true of the results. It may become successful or it may fail. It may become partial success, or at least it may create a general awakening in the public regarding an issue. The result of the movement has a close bearing on the ideology and the organizational framework. In this way, these are few characteristics about the social movement. I hope my explanation is clear to all of you. Let's see what are the stages which are necessary for formation of social movements. According to Herbert Blumer, social movement involves few stages of its formation. First is the preliminary stage. This stage can also be called the unrest stage. In this stage, we find some confusion or discontentment among people, hence they are restless. All the social movements begin with some feeling of discontent and with the existing social order. Discontent is always a product of a relationship between objective conditions and ideas about those conditions. If all the members in the society feel satisfied about everything, there is no chance for any social movement to emerge. The very presence of a movement indicates that people are dissatisfied with something or the other. More dissatisfaction or feeling of deprivation or restlessness alone does not lead to a movement. People should believe or should be made to believe that these deprivations are man-made and they can be effectively tackled through collective actions. Only then the stage is set for the emergence of movement. The next stage is the popular stage. In this stage, the movement begins to rally around a figure or a leader who promises to alleviate the suffering of people. This leader may be a charismatic leader with some extraordinary qualities who is capable of giving a leadership to the movement. He may speak of reform, revolution, resistance, or express himself in such a way that the formers are made to feel that he will do something or the other to find solution of their problem. If the message of the leader is appropriate and very much appealing, people would definitely rally around him. Next is the formalization stage. It is also known as the stage of formal organization. This is the stage in which programs are developed, alliances are forged, and organization and tactics are developed. In this stage, a party, organization, or group of individuals may put forward an alternative vision, worldview, or ideology to understand, analyze, and solve a prevailing crisis. Once the ideology gains acceptance among people, efforts must be made to translate it into a program which called for collective action. This leads to the birth of the movement. Not all the time movements are launched by the charismatic leaders. Very often they are sponsored, supported, or by some organizations. They deprived collectivity may realize to the necessity of forming an organization to strengthen their position. The already existing organization may also take up the cause of the masses and head the movement. The ideology is usually used to sustain the organizational setup, and the success of the movement demands the organization to function more as a movement and less as a rigid formal structure. For some reason or the other, people may lose faith in the charismatic leader and incline toward an organizational leader. Next stage is the stage of institutionalization of the movement. In this stage, if the movement becomes successful, then it destroyed itself in its last stage of development, which when it becomes an institution. At this point, it is no longer collective behavior because it is organized, followed accepted norms of the society, and has replaced its emotional base with the assumption that change will take time. When once it assumes this stage, the institution tries to bring down the wrath of the people and assume them the assure them that things would become normal in due course. With this, the active life of the movement may come to an end. In the stage of institutionalization, as Horton and Hunt has pointed out, that movement almost become routinized. They have said that in an institutionalization stage, an organization's takeover from early leaders, bureaucracy is entrenched, and ideology and programs become crystallized, often ending the active life of the movement. The last stage is the dissolution stage. When the movement becomes an enduring organization or fades away, possibility to be revived sometime later, it can be said to have ended the last stage of dissolution. According to Horton and Hunt, this life cycle fits poorly the expressive and migratory movements, but it is more applicable to the utopian, reform, revolutionary, and resistant movements. In this way, these are the stages of how the social movements are formed from beginning to the end. Uh, I hope whatever I have explained, all of you have gained some knowledge from it. The theories about the social movements will be explained in next part of this lecture. Thank you so much.